Host. My name is Jeff Esposito. I'm head of regional social media at Kaspersky, and I have with me my friend, Mr. Sandro Cisco, the head of global partnerships and sponsorships.
Hello.
How are you, my friend?
Very good, thank you very
Can
much.
you tell us a bit, what are sponsorships at Kaspersky?
Sponsorship plays an important role in Kaspersky and in our global marketing strategy and our global marketing work, as we have built in 10 years a lineup of events, incentives, and campaign around all the different properties and different sponsorship we have in our portfolio.
Now, what does sponsorship entail? Is it just the name on a car or the... What is this? I see you smiling now, Sandro. What is this?
Most people think that it's just a brand on a car or a brand on a helmet or on a t-shirt, on a sport kit. It's much more. And when it's just a brand on a logo, it means that the company, the brand, is not using the sponsorship at the best. The sponsorship is that because it brings and it delivers brand awareness, brand visibility, but it also needs activation. So it needs some activities to activate the sponsorship, to communicate the sponsorship, and to leverage all the benefit that usually a sponsorship contract gets to the sponsor, to the company.
Okay, so I get the whole contract on paper of what things are. But how does it go beyond? Like when we've worked with Ferrari now for, what is it now, 10, 11 years. We've worked with Ferrari for like 11 years. We've worked with a number of other groups too, but what does it mean to be a partner? Like what is this whole...
Well, it means that we work together. So it means that we sponsor Ferrari and Ferrari has this relationship, this special relationship with us, not just because we pay a sponsorship fee, but because we share values. And we share values means that when we do communication together, campaigns, social media activation, we talk the same language, we have the same values, and we try to convey our message, our Kaspersky messaging, our Kaspersky brand values, using the Ferrari brand and the Ferrari values to communicate to our audience, to our customers, or to our potential customers. So it's a partnership. And it's a partnership also because Ferrari has chosen to get protected by Kaspersky, so we protect Ferrari. It's not just a sponsorship, it's also a technical partnership. In this ecosystem, there is an exchange of benefits somehow, and this is why it's working and has been working for more than 10 years.
Yeah, and that's always something that I always have the questions about, of like, what is it going on with it? But let's say, for example, now, the people listening here are thinking about doing something. Like, what does it cost to get in a sponsorship? And not say, you don't have to give the numbers on what's your budget. You don't have to give what we pay with...
In general or like...
Like in general, let's say, for example, I own a small business based in Milano. What would it take to get involved with a...
Well, if your target, your strategy is going strong local in your community, I would suggest, even with little money, to invest in local opportunities, local team, a young sport. I love sports. For me, sports sponsorship are the best. They deliver the best to the brand and to the sponsor. So I would suggest to invest in something local, a small team, a football team, young kids, and start building a story. This is very important when you have a sponsorship. Have an alignment between your brands and your strategy and the team or the personality you sponsor, and get growing.
Now that's a big point you bring up there. The relationship and tying into the values. Like, how do you do that part?
Well, you choose. It's when you start doing your research and you start to understand that you need a sponsorship, a strategic sponsorship, to get in contact with the new audience, to expand your audience, or to reinforce some of your brand messages or your PR messages. You start doing research, or you have an insight, an intuit, something that makes you like think, I want to be there, because maybe it's your passion, and you start from building from that. It's fundamental to have shared values, because when you because it's not just placing a logo, but then you have to activate, you have to communicate. If there's no authenticity in the relationship, if two brands are not connected, the audience, we're not gonna get involved. And most of the sponsorship, especially sports sponsorship, they play on the passion. And we have teams we support. And if we see a company that genuinely support the team, we transfer the love and the passion we have for a team or a sport personality to the other brands. And this is what makes...
And that's what gets you associated. It's the people seeing what they like. So I think the question comes of, like, because you work on a global team.
Yes.
So your team is mostly based in London and Milan, correct?
And Moscow.
And Moscow. I forget some of those. But how do you pick the passions? Because there's so many different between all of those countries right there.
Well, the thing is, thinking of Formula One is a global sport, so it travels all around the world. We do central or global communication campaigns and events, but also we allow the local and the regions to activate the sponsorship on their own because they have a Grand Prix, a local Grand Prix, or because they want to run local campaigns. So our job is obviously to develop and design global campaign. We push out from global, from London, from Moscow, whatever, but also to empower the local offices and the regions to do what they do. We provide them guidance, guidelines, best practice, suggestions, support, and they do their own campaigns.
I know those guidelines very well.
I know.
But a question here on it too is, how do you keep track of everything? How do you keep track of all of the stuff you have going on? Because there's so many different interests and like what your team works in. You've got motorsport, you have cycling, you've got art, and esports. You have all of those. Like, how do you keep track of all those?
Well, we have tools, company tools, where we keep track, especially for when we have events or the guests we involve and they come through our events. We have tracking tools where we know exactly who we have invited where and what's going to be the output in terms of B2B especially. In general, it's just good communication with our colleagues. They know that if they want to do something using one of the assets, one of the sponsorship, they need to ask us because we have all the materials, the contents, and then we just engage a discussion.
So a question for you too. Do you have a favorite one of your sponsorships? And it's like asking about children or pets, like which one's your favorite, but this is...
No, well, obviously I'm very proud of the Ferrari sponsorship because I've been working for that since the beginning. More than 10 years ago, and I'm happy that this partnership, it's continuing, and I'm really now curious about all the esports stuff, which is an amazing opportunity for us, but a universe, huge, and I mean something I'm discovering day after day, and it's amazing.
I know I've talked to your team about like conferences, and they message me, which one should we go to? But I think on this part, like, talk about your team a bit. Like, you've got the people based in the 3 countries primarily, but how do you manage those locally? Like, how do you manage those, especially in a time of COVID where...
Oh yeah, I see. Well, trust. I know because we've been working together for many years. It's trust. I know that they're gonna do and they are committed and they're gonna do what they have to do. So I'm not a control freak.
Come on now.
And so, yeah, that's the thing.
So what would be your one piece of advice to somebody looking to expand their brand perception by looking at sponsorships? Like, let's say brand agnostic, you have a chance to just sponsor, it meets the values. What would be your one tip that you've learned through the years?
Start with a little thing, with a little contract, with small and few benefits and rights, and then get like a roadmap to increase and to upgrade. If you get too excited at the beginning, you could burn money, burn enthusiasm, and also build internally in your organization, in the company, the culture and the knowledge of what's happening or what you're doing, because that's important. The whole company, even if it's a small company or a large organization, has to embrace it and has to understand. And that could take time because sometimes sponsorship are perceived something like a game, something to play with, or something just to have fun with. It is not. It's serious marketing, strategic marketing tool. And sometimes it takes time to get it.
Well, thank you, my friend. This was a good interview.